reporting. Now, world leaders have welcomed the announcement of a truce between Israel and Hamas. Qatar, which mediated the agreement, says a larger number of trucks carrying aid, medical supplies and fuel will be allowed to enter Gaza, which is facing a dire humanitarian situation. But analysts say it's still not enough to deal with the crisis.
The truce will be significant for humanitarian aid because it will allow for a large number of humanitarian aid trucks and convoys to enter the Gaza Strip. But I must add that
Well, for the very latest on the war in Gaza, let's bring in Arise special correspondent Karl Bostic, who is in the Israeli city of Tel Aviv. It's great to have you on the program again, Karl. Let's get straight into it. Can you go into more of the details that are behind this monumental deal?
That's right. Well, good afternoon. Already, Israeli media, Israeli TV, they're reporting that a senior Hamas official has announced that the release of hostages will begin tomorrow morning, Thursday, at 10 a.m. local time. So that's when we would see the first group of 10 hostages released. Also, it's being reported in Arab media that those names have been also released as well. So we'll maybe know more about the identities of those hostages later today. Also, to go into more detail about what you were citing, we'll be looking at about 50 hostages to be released over a 4-day period in groups of in batches. That will break down to about 30 children, 8 mothers of children, and 12 elderly women. Keep in mind that in all there are 38 children in captivity as hostages. So it really kind of raises the question: where are those other 8 children? That have not been spoken about. Also, we're looking at the fact that 150 Palestinians will be also released, prisoners, women and children 18 years and under, none of them who have been convicted of crimes such as murder, but who are in prison because they might have been involved with the preparation of an attack or something like even throwing Molotov cocktails or stones at Israeli troops. Israel has submitted a list of 300 names that Hamas can choose from for those 150. And now, as you mentioned, that if Hamas agrees to release more hostages after the 4th day, Israel agreed to another day extension of this truce, pause, or ceasefire, whatever you want to call it. However, Prime Minister Netanyahu and his military chiefs have said that the limit for extending the ceasefire is up to 10 days. So at most, you're looking at a 10-day ceasefire or truce. Also, you're looking at increased aid truck deliveries, up to 300 trucks a day, up from around 100 a day. Just keep in mind, before the war, it was more than 500 trucks a day, bringing in food, medicine, and perhaps some fuel, which is a very contentious issue as far as Israel is concerned. Also, in terms of intelligence gathering and such, Israel has agreed to suspend drone activity in the north, limiting it to only 6 hours a day. That allows them to collect intelligence and observation of Hamas movements. Only 6 hours a day in northern Gaza. In southern Gaza, there will be no aerial activity at all. Hezbollah, which is not a party to this agreement, have said they'll observe the ceasefire as long as Israel does not respond or break the ceasefire. So there'll be no activity in the north as well. Another detail coming out, Prime Minister Netanyahu says the Red Cross will be allowed access to the remaining hostages, which is a first because there's been no proof of life of the rest. So we'll know a lot more about the condition of the remaining hostages, or for that matter, who's alive, who's even still alive. So that's what we're looking at now, but this could be something that stretches into from 4 days to 10 days.
Which, of course, is a huge timeline given the nature of this crisis. So what does this mean for the war itself and the strategies for both Israel and Hamas moving forward?
Well, for Israel's part, this is really a moral dilemma because, they're so consumed with rage, anger, and shock. I hear in Israel and Tel Aviv, where I'm, it's just palpable every day, where there's nothing but a desire for revenge. But that's really exceeded by the desire to bring home the civilians, especially the children. So the dilemma is, do you accept what you can right now, which means bringing home civilians, bringing home women and children especially, or do you risk losing access to them by continuing pursuit of the war, knowing that you're jeopardizing their safety or even their lives. That's why they took this course of action. I mean, for example, the vote itself by the government late last night, close to midnight, was not even unanimous. Some were divided. They didn't want to give Hamas anything. They don't like the way in which the hostages are being categorized. They want all or nothing at all. From Hamas's point of view, keep in mind the inner circle of the leadership. They've been underground in tunnels this entire time. They have no idea what's going above ground. There's been no communications because the communications have been cut off by the cutting off of electricity. So they don't know the state of play on the ground. It would be a chance for them to regroup, make an assessment of just, what has happened or not happened on the ground, what needs to happen. But also more cynically, as some point out, for Hamas, this is a chance really to buy some time because they know that if they can string this out, in other words, releasing more hostages on a day-to-day basis, they can maybe change the dynamics of the international conversation. They can actually increase international pressure on Israel just to end the war altogether. Already, you've got foreign ministers from Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia meeting today in London, already, releasing a statement saying that this should not be a temporary ceasefire, it should be a permanent one. It should lead to ultimate peace talks that also will lead to a two-state solution. So from Hamas's point of view, they want to string this out as long as possible because it's about their survival, knowing full well that Israel has pledged to destroy Hamas and that it never presents a threat to Israel again.
All right, Arise special correspondent Karl Bostic, live from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much for that very insightful breakdown of the current state of events. Thanks for your input.